Hello, this is Chris Pratt from Eurogamer, joined by Christian Donlan.
Hello.
I'm going to take a look at Total War Warhammer again.
Yes.
Still not quite used to saying that name in full.
It's not Total War Warhammer again, though, is it?
No, although that would be...
That's the DLC.
Almost as ridiculous. So we're taking a look specifically at the Vampire counts, which is the one race that up until this point they just haven't really shown off. And some people were kind of worried about that. But from what I played, they seem fine. Everything seems as it should be. Like, Warhammer fans will understand exactly what's going on here. Arguably, a little better than I did when I first jumped into this. So you saw on the main menu at the start, it was kind of a custom main menu we had for this preview event. This isn't from the campaign itself. This is a quest battle.
Right.
So it's sort of a little bit more scripted. We kind of... It's a bit more of a custom battle than something that organically happened whilst I was playing.
Right, they've set it up to be maximum fun, optimal fun.
Yes, and a couple of things to do with that, right? First of all, I went on to play another 2 hours of the campaign after this, in which I really learned how to play the vampire counts rather well.
I like you're getting all your caveats in at this point.
But this is the first time I played them, and actually one of the things I wanted to point out straight away about this race, it is overwhelming when you see a bunch of new stuff like that. So, for example, Total War players, you played a little bit of Total War here, right? Yeah. The vampire counts don't have any ranged units. And that's that. I didn't know what to do with that information.
Wow, that's really so.
So you basically, their setup is you can kind of see here. I'm kind of.
But are they overpowering up close then?
Well, sort of. They're most of the melee units we've got here. You can see at the bottom here, I've got skeletons and zombies make up the majority of the force. They're actually rather weak units, but you have loads of them.
Strength in numbers.
And it completely thematically makes so much sense because as you'll see what I do in this this fight, you basically send your horde of like undead slaves towards the enemy. You just kind of point them in a direction.
Oh, slightly Zerg rushy almost.
Well, they actually move very, very slowly, so it's like a very slow Zerg rush.
Oh, beautiful.
And like you completely fall into that like the role of the vampire count here, who's like this supreme intelligent being in the middle of them, controlling them all. They're all powered by his will. But the actual individual soldiers, most of them, are just kind of husks that are sent in a direction.
To put it in StarCraft terminology, is this an F2, F3 race? It's kind of all of you over there.
Sort of. Well, with the bulk of my force, yes. And then I think that would actually be a bit boring if that was the limit of it. So
yeah, I mean, so do I, obviously. That's not how I play StarCraft, honestly.
Around the kind of my main force of skeletons and zombies, I've got some elite troops. So here on the left, I'm looking at some Black Knights, which are some of the best cavalry in Warhammer, as far as I understand. So those are like... These are going to be the real damage dealers.
Right.
I need my horde of undead to distract the greenskins that I'm going to go up against.
That's very sad.
Whilst the real hard hitters...
They will never understand this. Tell me about your bats.
Yeah, so these are called fell bats, and one of the things that separates vampire counts is that they, right from the beginning of the game really, actually have access to some quite cheap flying units in the form of these fell bats, and you use them to make up for the fact that you've got no ranged units.
Right.
So instead of shooting at your enemies with like arrows, you send a small... What's a group of bats called?
Winged cloud.
A winged cloud of bats towards them, and it kind of sort of achieves a similar role.
A flap of bat? No.
There's got to be some. There will be some.
There is a collective noun.
Yeah,
definitely.
And yeah, so those guys are kind of, we're going to use them basically to stall the enemy more than anything. And what else do we have here? So I've done the cavalry. I've also got on the right hand side, I think I'm going to put the dire wolves, which are sort of. They'll use them sort of like you would cavalry, but they're a bit cheaper and a bit...
Like, vampires tend to be like the one-offs of fiction. You tend not to see like a whole bunch of them in one place. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, and this sort of happens in the vampire country. You can get vampire units, but here, the only vampire on the field is this guy.
Is he like a hero unit?
Yeah, he is the legendary lord of the vampire count, so he is like...
I've heard of this guy.
The main guy, Manfred von Karstein. And yeah, like that name will mean a lot to Warhammer fans, and we'll see him in action. Actually, he's really interesting as a character to use on a battlefield. So yes, we're up against the greenskins. This is a quest battle, and you can see they're basically holding this hill over here with catapults,
right.
And they've got four shamans, which is basically four spellcasters.
Right.
That are terrifying, but I don't really understand the winds of magic in this game just yet, so I sort of undervalued them a little bit.
Okay.
I just assumed they'd be alright. they do quite a lot of damage, it turns out. Whilst that's going on, their main forces on the hill, they've got some goblin wolf riders, which are about to start attacking my flanks. You can see that I've just basically sent my horde just in one direction.
This is why I can't play these games, because there's too much. I just get. Have you paused it?
Yes.
This is why I should play these games, because you can pause the game when it becomes all too overwhelming.
Hardcore Total War fans will probably look down at that a little bit, because pausing is seen as the easy way out. But to be fair, this was all brand new to me. I needed to read things and understand how things worked. So for the time being, I'm basically throwing my dire wolves at those wolf riders. And whilst that's happening, you know those really good cavalry that I put on the left-hand flank?
Yeah.
Turns out they're on completely the wrong flank for me, so I then have to...
It would have been handy to have them over there.
Yeah, send them over. Manfred himself, as you can see I'm kind of figuring out here, he's a wizard, and he's got 12 spells that all do lots of different things. And yeah, the game in the campaign, which I later went on to play, you kind of unlock that very slowly. It kind of feeds this stuff to you.
Right.
You're picking the spells that you unlock. However, when I jumped into this kind of pre-built experience, I just had a bunch of stuff that was very...
When you say you're picking them, is it kind of a bit like StarCraft? I mean, no, I'm linking everything to StarCraft too, but is it like the
RTS?
one locks out the other one? You choose one and you don't choose
it's more like basically a skill tree that you kind of... You every time you rank up, you can unlock a thing, and...
I'm so sorry to keep mentioning StarCraft. I'm sorry, Creative Assembly.
It's fine. This is an RTS, even though I keep pausing.
But it's very different. It's a very different beast. It's so different to StarCraft.
I mean, this is actually a very, very different beast to any Total War game we've seen yet.
What would you say is the big... How so?
The variety of units. So, Total War, in my experience, look at these catapults hitting my my skeletons there.
No one's happy about that.
Yeah, and they move so slowly. But Total War is an elaborate game of rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
I think, basically, so say you take a unit of spearmen, for example.
Yep.
Spearmen are usually not as good as kind of standard infantry in a fight, but they'll beat cavalry, whereas the cavalry will beat your normal infantry. And so it's kind of like everything has a direct counter. And that's still true in Total War Warhammer, except for the fact that you've just got a lot more stuff. Like, this amount of variation is there's a lot to deal with there.
So here's a question. If people have played Warhammer, tabletop Warhammer, will they understand? Will they have a leg up? Will they understand how units basically work?
I think so, yeah. I think actually, yeah, the Warhammer fans are in a really good spot, because the things like that, the Winds of Magic, I was intimidated by 12 spells. People know those 12 spells already. They know what they are. They know the kind of... Like, the Warhammer, the tabletop game, is all about building up armies, spending points, and...
So do you think, in a way, that's given Creative Assembly the leeway to be a bit more hardcore from the off?
Yeah, I think so.
A bit more overwhelming in the complexity.
But, to be fair, in the campaign itself, going in as more of a Total War fan than a Warhammer fan, it felt quite like a similar approach.
Right, it's a marriage.
You start off with one city, you slowly expand your reach.
Is there still the map view and the kind of the choices?
Yes. In fact, I had a really cool experience in my campaign. So I started off as Manfred von Karstein, as he'd been resurrected, and I actually spent my entire 2 hours in the game really ignoring all the other races and basically trying to dominate control of the other vampire counts. There were a couple of other counts in the game.
Is it still provinces and regions
and
all of that?
And one of them I immediately was at war with from the off. The kind of campaign kind of nudges you in that direction as it's teaching you how to play. And then the other count became my ally.
Wow.
And it was, despite it being Warhammer, despite it being this rich history of like lore and stories that people already know, I treated it like a Total War game, and it made sense to me.
Did you defeat the enemy count in the end?
I did. I got rid of the Temple Hoffs.
Did you say out for the count?
Oh, no, I didn't, but that is amazing.
Oh, you should.
Right, we need to save that
next
line.
time.
Yeah, and what's going on here then? So you can see I've made the unusual decision in the end to just very slowly walk up some of the slowest units in the game, up a hill towards
up an incline,
archers, catapults, and everything.
I feel pretty comfortable that I could defeat a skeleton if it was on a gradient.
So I'm doing. There are a few things, like now having played a lot more of this race. There are a few things that I know I'm doing wrong here. For example, Manfred, who is a wizard. You find that name really amusing, don't you?
I think of Manfred Mann, the classic 60s. Anyway, yes.
Despite him being a wizard, one, I'm not really using his spells much yet. You can see I'm full on kind of Winds of Magic down here. I should be starting to do stuff.
Right.
That starts shortly. But the other thing I should be doing, he should be in the middle of the biggest fight that's going on. Despite being a wizard character and despite being the leader of my army, he is powerful. Like, he should be in the middle of a fight.
So he's not like a glass cannon kind of wizard?
No, and this is something that's really worth knowing about all the heroes, all the lords in this game. in a typical Total War experience, you keep your general. Usually, they're it's like a good unit of cavalry. You keep him at the back.
Yeah.
And you only charge in if you know you desperately need to, or you know you're really doing okay. Because to lose your general is
a pain.
Is a terrible risk. And Warhammer fans will be like, "What are you talking about? You charge your lord into the middle of the fight,
that's really interesting.
Actually do cool stuff." And you'll see my man Manfred.
You don't often with these kind of crossovers. You don't often see convergence of two different game types in the same genre. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they do in so many ways seem like the perfect fit for each other, and it's actually crazy that we're only just seeing this for the first time, considering these two franchises appeal to the same kind of people and do many of the same things. You can see here I'm applying a buff to make these.
I just mean there's a lot more you tend to think of kind of like the mashups and like Lego Star Wars is very much just like a coat of paint. Whereas this is very much like something with its own rules is being grafted to something else with its own rules.
They actually, arguably compete with each other in a way.
That inevitably can't do everything in the same way. So it's really interesting to see the way they kind of blend.
So I'm now starting to get a bit. I'm actually, whilst I was playing this, I was sitting next to one of the developers, and I was basically asking him which spells would be good.
Was he telling you the right thing? He or she?
I think he was I'm not sure he played a lot of Vampire Counts either, to be honest.
Right.
He was maybe this maybe wasn't his schoolhouse, which is
Did
why
you say
I
this
take a little
won't
while.
count for much. Did you say before he gave you any bit of...
And then I replied, "Thanks for that."
Oh, that's good. That's good.
It's good because you made that joke earlier, and I just stole it off you.
There's a lot at stake.
Oh God, stop. And basically, one of the things I found out here is that a lot of the Vampire Count spells, anyway, feel like buffs and debuffs.
Right.
So it's like reducing the morale of a unit, or making a unit move faster, or something like that. Whereas in the one of the first gameplay trailers we saw for this game, we saw some really game-changing spells, like huge meteors falling from the sky, and the god of the greenskins stamping on a unit, these big impactful things that were wiping out units.
Is it possible that is the stuff which again, sorry, this is StarCraft thinking.
Sure.
Is it possible that is the stuff which they hold back for the campaign, which is slightly more throwaway and
this will actually fit into the campaign.
Right.
You would be able to activate this battle on the campaign map. It would show up in a certain area whilst you're trying to do.
So it's not a case because StarCraft uses its most overbalanced stuff,
overpowered stuff.
Overpowered stuff. For the campaign, and it doesn't let you play it anywhere else.
So there's definitely, because of the nature of the skill tree, you will unlock the most powerful stuff later on. But this looks like a mid-game kind of Manfred, I think, and he's got a lot of stuff available to him. Maybe it's just the Vampire Counts themselves have spells that are a bit more, they work a little bit more like that, and it would make sense, I guess, for a vampire to leech the strength of an enemy, etc.
One thing I love about Total War is they get so much out of a hill.
Yeah.
You get so much gameplay out of just putting things on a hill.
Oh, it's incredible. I was at a complete disadvantage then walking up, and especially the way I did it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's that's where the Total War experience comes back into play, because then I sort of, I understand what that hill means and why you probably don't want to walk slow moving infantry.
Was it Rome 2 even had stuff where you could roll down the hill?
Yeah, that's
you
right.
Basically go bowling.
Yeah,
on a Roman scale.
I think they've moved away from that here, and yeah, they've actually scaled back some of the ideas that they pushed before in Total War. There aren't naval battles, for example, in this, which I don't think anyone's too upset about, to be honest.
Is it Dreadnought? Is that a Warhammer game?
Yeah, I think that might be a 40k thing, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I don't know what I'm talking
But there could have perhaps been room for naval battles. I don't know, but they decided not to do it. They haven't had a lot of luck with them in the past, to be honest. They've always been a bit one of those nice ideas that's never quite. The thing you feel you have to do.
Yeah, I remember that one of them. It was very tactical. It was about different sorts of shot to take out their rigging.
Yes, and also the AI wasn't always on point. And speaking of which, I actually played one siege in my time in the campaign. When I was wiping out the Tempelhofs. I had to assault Castle Tempelhof, obviously, and it was a little bit.
Castle Tempelhof.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Is there a temple castle?
Remember that Warhammer fans are listening to this.
Sorry,
Christian.
No, you're right. You're right.
And yeah, the siege wasn't that different to some of the sieges I've had in some of the more recent Total War games, which is a little bit disappointing.
Right.
Siege AI is never It's never quite where we want it to be.
Right.
I don't think this is the game to change it.
So now Tempelhof is getting stuck in. No,
that's Manfred, yeah.
Von Karstein?
Yeah, that's it. You got it. So the reason I wanted to zoom in on him just is because I just charged a full unit of enemies with my hero.
And did he?
And he's fine. He wipes them out. In my mind, that is the worst thing you ever do.
But I suppose it works when it is Manfred von Karstein more than when it's Napoleon.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's still, as a Total War player, this freaked me out badly. Like I was, they just charged one of their heroes in as well. But I've got a legendary lord here. He is powerful. And I was, you can see I've paused the game, and I was talking to the developer, being like, "Are you sure it's okay? Because this isn't how I usually play."
Oh wow!
Why isn't he at the back directing people?
I was going to be really interested to watch all of this shake out as kind of the two communities converge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I imagine there is some crossover there. I was a fan of both when I was a little bit younger, and I still remain a huge fan of Total War, just because it's easier to play Total War at the moment.
Oh my god, look at that! I was at Creative Assembly once when they said, as the press walked past, said you can't go in there because the tabletop gamers are in there and they're very serious.
Oh, right. So okay.
I think it's very much a meeting of minds.
Yeah, I see. You can see I'm basically using the last of my Winds of Magic here. This is one of the things I was worried about. The magic would end up being overpowered, and the game would be about casting spells and wiping out units. There's a finite amount of magic that you're ever going to be able to use in each battle because of the way that, and that's a Warhammer rule more than a Total War thing. And I've kind of depleted it now. And also, it had an impact on the game, and more so once I understood the spells I was using in the campaign, I was reliably using them and using them to give me an advantage, but it never seemed like the defining factor. It was never the reason I won the battle.
Right.
It just helped. It was, it was kind of like the abilities you have for your commanders in the previous Total War games. They're useful add-ons. They're not your entire game. I love
getting in close and watching it all.
Even now, Total War just impresses me for that. The fact you can zoom out and see thousands of troops, zoom in and see it like two people fighting each other.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
It's I don't think I ever want to stop being overwhelmed by that. You can now tell, if you look at the unit cards at the bottom, I'm now getting to the stage in the game where it's going to get real scrappy.
Right.
Because we've got about the equal amount of forces left. You can see I didn't do a good job of killing their shamans at all, which was the only thing that I've been told to do here. I just chose to ignore that. But I do have some of my best units left. I've got two of the really strong heavy cavalry units. I've got I think they're called crit guards, are they? Which is a good heavy infantry unit.
There's the vampires don't have their own elephants, do they?
No, but they have monsters.
An emo elephant would be amazing.
They have things sort of like that. They have like big, huge monsters that just leap into combat and scatter troops. And Warhammer has its fair share of interesting creatures.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Like we've already seen from the greenskins, like the giant spiders are amazing. And
who's that guy?
That is an orc hero. So basically I was fighting against a force of mainly goblins, and they had reinforcements in the shape of large orcs, which is useful. And now I'm starting to pause a little bit more because I'm panicking and I'm thinking, am I actually going to win this, or am I recording me losing a Total War Warhammer?
Would that have been a problem?
No, but I would have had to give even more context for why this was overwhelming when I first played it. That we'd still be doing the context now.
Oh wow.
So basically this is the real scrappy bit at the end. We've done all our clever manoeuvring. Now it's just a big free-for-all in the middle.
Cleaning up. Ooh, he's back.
So what was his name? Wazhumper something. The Wazhumper. I didn't see the surname. The randomly generated name. So Manfred is a legendary lord. He's from the
fiction.
Yeah, but there are lots of just random characters that are generated, like Rugnut or something. I don't know what that was.
Those names must be really fun and easy to procedurally generate.
Yeah, and the greenskins have such capabilities for silly names, so you can really generate all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh wow,
he's run away. One of the things I haven't pointed out about the vampire counts that makes him a little bit different is that unlike most Total War games are won and lost by routing your enemy, right? You want to make them run away. Rather than wipe them out, it's more about making everyone flee in a lot of cases. The vampire counts, because they're undead, don't have a morale system.
Oh, wow.
So, and this happens in Warhammer, this is another rule they've had to kind of apply. Instead of, you know, your skeleton warriors losing a fight and then running away, they crumble. So the way it's kind of justified is that it shows that your hero, your vampire, is losing control of this army that he's having to put effort into to maintain. Like there's so much magic that's being used, and so they literally fall apart instead of like fleeing the battlefield.
Well, that sounds like a lot. That sounds like something which would actually be quite fun to watch as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure I got a good look at that. To be honest, I because I was treating this like a normal Total War fight, I'm not sure I really noticed the difference between that and having.
When you played more of it after this, though, were you? It sounds like you were repeatedly running up against the instances in which it was sort of pleasantly different.
Yes, definitely, and yeah, once you do it in the right way, which is to start a grand campaign and start small and build up,
it takes you from there.
It completely won me around. The one thing I will say, and I wanted to put this at the end of the video rather than start with it, I'm not sure I really like playing the vampire counts. I like that they're in the game, and I think they'll be a fantastic enemy for me individually to want to fight. But I miss having ranged units. I really do. Like that's a huge part of Total War for me. I love creating a strong line of infantry, having your kind of cannons and your archers or whatever it is behind that, and holding the line against a huge force.
So how many different races are there in this?
There are 5 to begin with. They're going to be future standalone games, which I'd add to that. There is some controversy around the fact that one of those races is unfortunately a pre-order DLC.
Oh, is that Chaos?
Yeah, and that's upset the community quite a bit. But yeah, I think for me, I will want to play as, say, the dwarfs, which are all about that. They're all about a strong line of like some of the best infantry in the game, supported by cannons, cool, beautiful, wonderful cannons, and that's more my playstyle. So it's not. I think, though, I will enjoy playing against the undead because the idea of them having to charge towards me sounds perfect. It's just not really the race I probably would have picked, which I think is fine because I imagine that's the same in the World of Warhammer as well. Definitely. You pick a race that appeals to your playstyle. And really, at this stage, I've actually won the battle, and because this is an alpha version of the game, it doesn't come up with a victory screen.
But the victory screen's there.
But you can see at the top, it's showing that I've won. I asked the developer, have I won?
And he said, you have.
And he said yes, and then I had to eventually concede defeat. Oh, and there's the bone pillar for your Warhammer fans. Just gave you a little bit of a shot of that. I know what you're after.
Oh, God. London hasn't been the same since they built the bone pillar.
It really hasn't. All right, yeah, I think this is probably a good place to wrap it up then. I wanted to use this as, just a way to give lots of information about what it's like to play the Vampire Counts, who are an interesting race. And this is an interesting game. I continue to be very, very impressed by it. I actually might have to fade out with me pressing concede defeat. Oh no,
it's gonna hurt.
It's the worst thing to do. After I put so much into that fight. You saw how much I put into it.
I did.
And then I think, oh well, once he's run off the battlefield, surely I've won, right?
Yeah, I can't believe you then lost.
There are literally no enemies. He's gone. He's gone. I've chased him off the field. Why isn't it saying, well done, Chris?
Is this like when you win an argument with someone, but you feel that actually, in a way, you kind of lost at the same time? Because maybe you were mean or you were kind
Except
of
that I'm the Vampire Count and I've just slain a number of greenskins to...
I think you're saying yes.
Infect
it's exactly like that.
The bone pillar with necromantic energy so I can make my sword better.
Easy for you to say.
So I guess that's quite similar. And here we are. Oh. Look how reluctant I am.
Oh dear, yes. There's some hovering.
Oh goodness, and there we are. Yeah, so we both won and lost that fight against the greenskins.
How pure it is.
I hope you liked it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
John Brave Dowie, march on! To the cursed realms of the Groby we go. I know not what mischief they cause, but they're up to something, for my beard itches with trouble. We take the underway. These ancient highways, built by dwarf hands,